Season 2 of the new Bronx Edulution. We've got something great in store for you. I'm Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet and your host for the show. Our rich history and culture are rediscovered through the stories of community members who take pride in our borough while sharing their journey towards success. Get ready to be uplifted and entertained. Me and the crew welcome you to the brand new Bronx Edulution.
Welcome to another episode of the Bronx Edulution. Our mission is to create an engaging program where families in the Bronx and beyond can laugh and learn together. On today's show, we'll be talking about hope. Hope is defined as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And for clarity, hope is a little bit different than faith. We covered faith in a previous episode this season, but as a quick reminder, faith is defined as complete trust or confidence that something will happen. In layman's terms, it's pretty simple. Hope is to want, and faith is to know. Now, let me give you an example. As I've mentioned, I'm from Nebraska, and I had hope that one day I would live in New York City. I didn't know if it would happen, but I sure hoped that it would. Simultaneously, as an extension of my hope to live in New York, I had faith that if I made it to the city, that I would also make it to Broadway. Now, my audition history is pretty much the same as any other artist who is, trying to see their dreams come true. You walk into a room full of people and you look around and there's 10, 15, 20 other people that look just like you. They've all got managers and agents and publicists and lawyers and the whole kit and caboodle. And when you come from a smaller town, and you have a lot of support, people really make you feel like you're special and you're unique. But when you walk into a situation like that you're not familiar with, you recognize that you are just one of many. However, I was very lucky that I was able to progress in my career through the obedience of my gifts, through lots of prayer, through lots of doing my homework and figuring out how did my voice sound the best, what types of shows or characters or roles did I really want to be a part of. So one day I wound up in an audition. This is the very first round of auditions for the musical Rent. Now, when you go to a site like LinkedIn and you're looking for a job, you see a job description. And in the entertainment industry, they call it a brief. Right? So the brief said, we want you to prepare yourself with 2 songs, one slow, one fast, of alternate styles, but you are not allowed to sing anything that has been in a musical. So part of my faith was that I knew if I got this audition, I would be able to get into that show. But what I didn't think about was the ownership and responsibility that comes with faith. So I went in and I sang the first song, and I believe it was something by James Ingram or Peeble Bryson, one of the amazing guys. And then, it was like this thunderous round of applause, and I was feeling really good, and I was like, yeah, Lord, my faith, I'm almost there. I got one more song. And I went to sing that second song, and it was the song Feeling Good that was done by Dr. Nina Simone. Now, you can hear that song now in drug commercials, you hear it in French fry commercials, they're overdoing it, it's everywhere. But back in the day, I thought it was still special and unique. Little did I know, once I sang the song, what would happen next. So, like I say, after the first song, it was this thunderous round of applause and everything was great and it was well received. Then I sang my second song and I got maybe 25% of the hand claps. It was like a courtesy clap, aww, right? And I don't think it was because I sounded bad. That could be in my own fantasy. However, I do believe that what the problem was is that I didn't do my homework. I didn't know that the song Feeling Good was actually from a musical. And I should probably correct that and say I never took time to research where the song actually came from. I had heard it on one of my favorite jazz albums by Dr. Nina Simone, and so I thought that it was just a jazz song. It turns out that song was originated in a Broadway show called Roar of the Grease Paint, Smell of the Crowd. I didn't know it. I'm not from New York, right? That was my original excuse. So I leave this audition, and I was feeling kind of so-so, and I'm racking my brain. I'm like, what did I do that the response to the second song wasn't as good as the response I got to the first one? And a few minutes later, my manager calls me, and she says, Timothy, how could you? And I'm like, oh my God, did I say something to offend somebody? Like, I'm going through my mind, and I'm like racking my brain to figure out what happened. And she said, Timothy, you sang something that's from a musical. And I'm like, no, I sang an R&B song, and then I sang like more of like a jazz kind of thing from Nina Simone. I don't know what you're talking about. And that's when she told me that it was actually from a musical. So, needless to say, I didn't get the show because they were very, very strict about who was gonna get in, and you have to follow the brief. And I tell this story because I wanna make sure people understand that hope is necessary. When you give up on hope, the lights go out. You start questioning your reason to live. You start questioning your reason to do things, to get out of bed, to like function during your day. But hope becomes faith through like the thinnest little rice paper, like it flips over before you know it. You go from hoping that something happens or having such a strong desire for something to happen to having like that inner gut feeling that you know something is about to become manifest. And I knew that I was going to get into that show. However, I didn't own my own responsibility to do my research. Fast forward to about a year and a half later. Now Rent is like the biggest thing on Broadway, and everybody's becoming famous, and it's like it's the same thing like what happened with the musical Hamilton. Like it just became so big, it was just like, it went from fame to like infamy. I was actually visiting a friend in California. The first national tour of Rent was out there, and they were doing auditions. So I prepared 2 songs, I did my research, I figured out like where these songs came from, who wrote them. I mean, like I went overboard to make sure I didn't make the same mistake twice. I walk into the room, I sing both songs, and the gentleman calls me to the table. His name is Bernard Telsey. He's from Telsey Casting, really famous. They do musicals, TV shows, movies. And he calls me to the front and he says, Tim, I'm glad you came back. And I was like, you remember me? I'm like, I'm not even in New York. How did you know that it was me? He said, I remember you because we were gonna hire you, but you sang the wrong thing. And I said, oh my God, like what a way to be remembered as having messed up my own opportunity. So timing comes into play when you think about your faith. Responsibility comes into play when you think about your faith. So don't give up on hope, because in my own personal opinion, that is the seed that can lead you to greatness. You always will have hope. It's just that sometimes you have to find it. You have to dig for it. You have to know that it exists so that you can make it and take what we've spoken about before, step 1. And then you take step 2. A lot of people don't accomplish their goals because they never take step 1. We'll be right back after these messages with an interview with someone I am so grateful to have here with us, Miss Natalia Perez, who is the Director of Marketing here at BronxNet. We'll be right back.
This year, BronxNet Community Television needs your support. For more than 30 years, we've been providing community programming shows, education courses, and access to our world-class television studios, a place where Bronx residents can call home. Community leaders and organizations can share their ideas, stories, and passions for what matters to us. We are still going strong, working hard each day, building new studios, creating new jobs, and expanding our digital inclusion opportunities so that your voices can still be heard. Every dollar counts. Donate to BronxNet and keep the momentum going and continue building a better Bronx with BronxNet.
Welcome back, Boogie Down. Thanks for joining us. Every week, we've had the pleasure of introducing you to some of the amazing people here at BronxNet that are helping make it all tick. My favorite quote, which you all know by now, is from Stephen Covey. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We've met some amazing folks that work here at BronxNet, and today I am so just grateful for the opportunity to interview our Director of Marketing, Miss Natalia Perez. Let's give a big Bronx welcome. Come on through, Natalia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much,
I'm glad you're
Tim.
here.
Thank you for having me, and it's such an honor to be here with you.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. So we've been having these amazing conversations with all of the different various support staff, I'll say, here at BronxNet. People that, the general public may never see, right? Camera folks and like different producers, assistant producers, reporters, etc. So it's great now that we're going to get a chance to introduce the audience to one of our directors, right? But I want to start from the beginning.
Okay.
And just give folks a little bit of a sense of where you're from, what is your background, and how did you arrive here at BronxNet?
Okay, well, thanks again for having me. I was born and raised right here in the Boogie Down Bronx, right at Albert Einstein Hospital. I'm a very proud Bronxite. I used to live in Co-op City. That's where I grew up from the age of 2. I went to all the schools there, including Truman High School. And I graduated from Truman High School, and I was just one of these crazy people that wanted to go to a warm state after graduating high school. So I actually went all the way to Arizona.
Oh, wow.
I went to Arizona State University. That's where I got my bachelor's degree in mass communication and business. And right out the gate, for years and years, even since I was in high school, I knew I always wanted to actually be a news reporter.
Okay.
And actually for career day, it's kind of funny because I have old videos and photographs of me walking around in a business suit with like a microphone in my high school interviewing people.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, right? And a long time ago, for people who were much older, maybe, around our age or so, they might have remembered seeing me on News 12 The Bronx. That was my first job right out of college.
Wow.
And when I say first job, Tim, I mean I graduated from Arizona State on a Saturday, and I started at News 12 The Bronx on a Monday.
Wow.
That's how crazy it was. So,
well, and it's also like really cool that you left New York for someplace warm, and then life brought you full circle right back.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I was in my hometown doing news, doing what I loved. As time went on, I actually worked for Fox News, and I was a reporter back in Arizona. I started having a family, and then I switched and I shifted gears into retail management, and I worked for big cosmetic lines like MAC Cosmetics. I was a manager for many big makeup brands. I started my own makeup business and had 3 children. And then, I actually had a huge tragedy that affected my life. And this was in 2015. So it's kind of funny that today is a day after November 1st. But yesterday was actually the 8th year anniversary of my dad and my daughter, who was only 10 years old. Both of them were killed tragically on Halloween while trick-or-treating in Morris Park. And that shaped my life tremendously.
So let me pause you really quick. So, thank you for sharing that and for being willing to open up something so life-changing.
Yeah.
But our story today, our theme is all about hope and faith.
Right.
And so I would love to know, like, it sounds like, you had a lot of faith to get through. You're at Fox, you're at this station, you're doing all of these amazing things. And then this life-changing moment happens. How did hope and faith come into play at that point in time?
Yeah. When you go through a tragedy of that magnitude in your life where you lose 2 loved ones on the same day, just all of a sudden, you have no choice but to have faith. Thank God I am a God-fearing person, and I do, try to attend church, and I just had to let go and let God, and and He kind of led the way. I've also had many supportive people, family, friends, even clients who I've done makeup for, and over the years, they've all been there to just be my backbone and be my support system and say, hey, but you have to have hope. I think when you're going through life and you have all of these challenges that come your way, if you don't have hope, it's almost like, how do you keep going?
That's exactly right.
How do you
Yes.
wake up in the morning? How do you still have a smile on your face? How do you get dressed? How do you do what you want to do? How do you reach your goals?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been so important to always try to stay positive, to try to have that type of outlook and definitely have faith.
Wow, that is so powerful, because I know, actually, there's so many things playing in my head right now. My grandmother used to say, be careful what you complain about, because there's always someone who has it worse off than you.
Right,
Right?
absolutely.
And I feel like, with that story, there are probably other folks who are watching this who might be experiencing something that is important in their own life, right? And
Right.
it's heavy on them in their own life. And being able to hear from you and seeing you continue to be successful, continue to push forward with your career, continue to raise your family and show so much love. And you guys have no idea, like the level of love that Natalia shows even to the staff here at BronxNet, and how supportive she is of all of us. You would never know that something like this happened. How did you, and I understand faith and I understand church, and my mother was the pastor of our church, so you already know, verse
Yes.
down, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can get it. But how did you make it through this yearly event? Like, what was your process? Like, for other people who might be experiencing this same type of thing,
Right.
or some other type of thing that really could render you debilitated, quite frankly, how did you build up your stamina to know that the date is even approaching, to live through the actual day, and then the next morning you're breathing? How did you work that out?
I always say to focus on the positive, not the negative, and when that tragedy hit me, I could have dwelled every day, every minute, for months, for years, about my dad and my daughter who passed, right? My daughter was only 10.
Yeah.
She had her whole life ahead of her. She would have
Yeah.
been 18 this year. My dad was 65. He was an Army veteran and fought in the Vietnam War. And I think about the happiness and the joy they brought to me in my life. But then I look down and I see my beautiful children that are still alive.
Yes.
They survived that accident. They were
Yeah.
right there, and they could have been killed too. And so when I look at them as such a blessing, right? And then I also think about the other two children that I had after that. And so my kids are like part of what keep me going, my husband as well, he's been the backbone ever since then, very supportive since day one. And I just think that they are the spirit that lifts me up. That's like, you got to keep going. When things like that happen, you have these little faces looking up at you saying, what do we do next, Mom? And I had to just say, come on, we're getting ready. We're going to school. We're doing
Right.
this. We're going here. We're going to travel.
Yeah.
And it also brought me to BronxNet because, this is a passion of mine. I love television. I love media. And when I actually got this job working as a director of marketing, it was such a dream come true job for me because it was mixing my two loves, which is marketing, which I really had a strong background over so many years of working between makeup, between
Right.
film, between, television, and then also doing, working with the community, which
Right.
is something that I'm very passionate about as well.
Yeah.
So this is like a dream come true being here at BronxNet. I love my job. I love the people I work with, like you.
Yeah, come on. This is my sister right here, okay? Yeah.
And it's just it's like a full circle moment for me being here, and I have a lot more goals in store for my life, for my kids.
That's right, that's right.
For BronxNet,
Yes.
and I just want to keep going and have faith.
That's exactly
And that's
right.
what you have to do in order to keep it going.
That's right. So I want to ask one quick question in the little bit of time that we have left, and it relates to marketing, right?
Okay.
So for all of the folks out here who, one of the big things that we talk about that you guys obviously don't know is that there are a lot of folks, especially in the BIPOC community, who feel immobilized, right? Because they can't, they feel like they can't take that step one because they don't have a $5,000 microphone or a $10,000 camera or all the lights and all the different accoutrements that like help you get from A to B.
Yeah.
What do you say in terms of a person who is like in their basement or in their closet or in their bedroom, like
Yeah.
hashing out whatever the vibe is that they're working on? It could be music, it could be art, it could be drawing, it could be anything. Where do you start when it comes to marketing your brand?
The first piece of advice I would give anyone right now is to be authentically you. That's what's really selling right now. That's what people want. That's what's building your brand. And so when you're authentically you, whether it's through your organization, whether it's as you're developing your company, you really have to be who you really are on camera and in front of your audience, and try to be as transparent as possible, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human beings.
Yes.
We all, you know, go through stuff in life. So share the good days, share the bad days sometimes, and be consistent with your, you know, messaging. Be consistent with posting. Be consistent and thoughtful about your audience, because your audience wants to see you grow. They want to see you build. And if you're consistent with them and you're consistently showing them your growth, they're right there cheering you on. They want to see you grow. So that's my biggest advice for people in marketing right now that want to, you know, build their brands and grow it. And I'm here to help if you need it.
I love that. I'm like, my God, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for that extra little tidbit you just pushed in there. I want everybody to recognize one of the messages she just gave you, in case you didn't catch it, is imagine that the world wants you to succeed. Focus forward on people wanting you to grow, on wanting you to grow your brand, on wanting you to succeed in whatever it is that you are doing that is allowing you to feel like you are following your purpose. Natalia, thank you so much again for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
No
Folks,
problem.
we'll be right back after these messages.
.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Hi everybody, welcome to Adventures with Mr. M. I'm Mr. M and I'm glad you're here. On today's segment, I'm going to be reading to you one of my favorite books, Leo the Late Bloomer by Robert Krauss, pictures by Jose Orrego. Leo couldn't do anything right. He couldn't read. He couldn't write. He couldn't draw. He was a sloppy eater. And he never said a word. "What's the matter with Leo?" asked Leo's father. "Nothing," said Leo's mother. "Leo is just a late bloomer." Better late than never, thought Leo's father. Every day, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. And every night, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. "Are you sure Leo's a bloomer?" asked Leo's father. "Patience," said Leo's mother. "A watched bloomer doesn't bloom." So Leo's father watched television instead of Leo. The snows came. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. The trees budded. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. Then one day, in his own good time, Leo bloomed. He could read. He could write. He could draw. He ate neatly. He also spoke. And it wasn't just a word. It was a whole sentence. And that sentence was, I made it. The end. Wasn't that a great story? To me, it means that everyone eventually blooms, just at their own pace. So if you're patient, you'll bloom too. I hope you enjoyed the story, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Have a great day.
The Bronx Edulution. We are Bronx Strong.
Welcome back, Boogie Down. Today's episode was all about hope and how it turns into faith. I want you to remember, you already have everything you need in order to present your original idea to the world. I'm Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet Cable Access and your host for the Bronx Edulution. Please like and share our show from our YouTube page at BronxNet TV.